Good evening and welcome everybody to this meeting of Cheltenham Borough Council's Cabinet. I am Councillor Rowena Hay, Leader of the Council. Welcome to members of the public tonight and to those watching live stream. The meeting will be recorded and will be kept for a period of 5 months. A period of years, sorry. It's the fact that the CCTV and audio recording is in operation in the foyers and the public gallery, with recordings held for 5 months. If you're here to make a representation to the meeting, you are consenting to the use of the sound and video recordings for broadcasting and training purposes. We're not expecting a fire alarm, so if the alarm does go, please make your way immediately to the nearest fire exits. I have no apologies tonight. Are there any members who need to declare an interest? No, thank you very much. That leads us on to the minutes of the last meeting. So agenda item 3, has everybody had a chance to read them, and has anybody got any comments on those or amends? No? Could I therefore see a show of hands, please, to accept those? Thank you very much. It's always the pen runs out, doesn't it? Thank you. So we have 2 public member questions. One is from Mr. Lawler, who is not present, so there will be no supplementary. There is the written answer that's been provided. And then we do have another question from Emma Nelson. Emma, do you want to step forward do you have a supplementary?
I thank the Leader for her response and for recognising the constant call from Cheltenham Conservatives to switch to 4 yearly elections to save Cheltenham residents thousands of pounds. I must ask, what is the Council's preferred outcome from your engagement with the MHCLG? As in the first paragraph of your answer, you say you are assuming elections will take place as scheduled. Yet in the third paragraph, you are asking the MHCLG whether they wish you to proceed, given the all-out elections last year and more elections in 2027, which seems to imply you'd rather not spend the taxpayers' money for just a year in office. And your second paragraph rather reinforces this underlying preference, justifying that those elected in 2024 continued for a further 2 years. My question then, when did you last hear from the MHCLG? When are you expecting to hear their decision? And what do you make of the MHCLG Secretary, Steve Reid, MP's response in the House today on this very subject? Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Nelson. I can't comment on Steve Reid's comment in the House today because I haven't had an opportunity to even look at it. And I know our MP was asking questions in the House today, which I was quite keen to hear as well, but I didn't get to do that. So maybe I will look at that later. But so the question arose because, of course, when we had all our boundary review, and we said that we would go back to 2 yearly, which has been this council's custom and practice for many, many years. At that point in time, we did not know that the government was coming forward with LGR and that we were going to be facing elections. So there's been speculation, should I say, I think it's fair to say, and quite a lot of councils asking the question of, is this going to happen or not? So we put in a question to say, is it going to happen? Are you thinking about it? If you are thinking about it or prepared to think about it, then think about it in the logic of the fact that in 27 we've got shadow authorities coming up for election, and you're absolutely right that, you know, to some extent, what is the point in having that election in 26 from a financial perspective, when actually what we also know is that we've got to find an absolute bucket load of money to go through the LGR process, because the government hasn't given us any money to do that. They said you're doing it, but we've got to pay for it. So we've got to find as well as delivering the day job, we've got to find the money to go through that transition to the whatever new council comes next. So I don't expect, I think, rather like last year when there were requests to postpone elections, some of them justified, some of them actually just, speculative, and actually we'd like to stay for a bit longer without any real mechanism or backing as to why you would do that. I think we do have a rationale for if the government decide that, we've got to, there is a complete narrative around why we would say, actually, government, yes, if you want to do it, then we'll listen. But in terms of when they need to let us know, they will have to let us know by February. I think it's the second week in February, because that's about the latest time that the government can decide to cancel the elections. So believe what I'm from my memory, Mr. Nelson, there are 15 councils that are up for thirds in different places. Now, I'm not saying all of them have put in that request, but what I do know is that a number of councils have put in, are we having elections or are we not? So we're waiting for that clarification from them. But in the meantime, absolutely, we will continue as if we have got elections in May next year. That's all we can do. That takes us on to section 5 in the report. So the first report of the evening is the publication of the infrastructure funding statement and the community infrastructure levy rate summary statement. And that's the report of Councillor Collins.
Yes, thank you, Leader. So, thank you, Leader. Thank you, Cabinet colleagues. This report is a statement and an historical update of the responsibilities we have here at Cheltenham Borough Council to publish an infrastructure funding statement, known as an IFS, and the community infrastructure levy, known as CIL, rate summary. Because we as an authority charge CIL or enter into Section 106 agreements with developers, basically. Now, it is a statutory update, and as such, it does not require a debate or a decision other than to agree to the two recommendations which are requested in the report, namely that Cabinet approves the publication of the infrastructure funding statement 2024-2025 relating to the financial year ending on the 31st of March 2025 by the end of the year, so by the 31st of December, and that the CIL and Section 106 information is then submitted to government. The second recommendation is to note the annual CIL rate summary statement, December 2025, and approves it for publication on the council's website, but again by the end of the year, which obviously is the 31st of December. It is a detailed summary, and it is in line with our corporate plan priorities. It also contains a host of regulatory requirements and figures that I hope that you are already familiar with, because this isn't the first time we've looked at these numbers. As I said earlier, the report contains contents are statutory, and in the case of the CIL contributions, we also have to work with our SLP partners in collectively publishing this information. Hopefully, you won't have any questions, but if you do, I'll do my best to answer them. But we do have officer support again at the back of the chamber, so if anyone has got any questions. I would like to say, I think sometimes we forget who does all the work and actually puts these reports together. So I would like to thank, on this occasion, Sam Layton, Sarah Screen and Andrew Sherborne for producing this one, and I'd like to wish them a Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Collins. Has any member got any questions on this report or comments? Questions or comments? Councillor Baker.
I just want to say, really, given massive pressure that all local authorities are under, the importance of CIL funding cannot be understated. And when I look at some of the projects that we're putting forward for CIL funding, they're really exciting. And whether it happens, we don't know. But there is a real opportunity, I think, that a lot of these projects will happen, given the amount of money that's likely to be coming forward. And when you do things like the Cheltenham Prince of Wales Stadium, as one of our priority projects. When you look at Cheltenham Pitfield Park and the projects there to look at the desilting of the lakes, there's some fabulous projects in there which would not happen without this SIL funding. So, and there's also some strategic projects as well, which have been outlined further on down in the report. So I think it's a really positive report, which just does again stress the importance to us of SIL monies.
Any other member? Councillor Collins, do you want to say anything further?
Only just, I wasn't expecting Councillor Baker to say that, and I'm really pleased you have, because it is important, and there are some great schemes and great projects all across not only the borough of Cheltenham, but if you look at the two partner authorities, they've got things going on as well. And it is really, really important that we keep selling this to our communities and get them when they are in need of some support for a project, that they know that this is one place they can come and ask for help. I'm not saying they're going to get it, but at least they can be part of the process. Thank you.
So if I can see a show of hands, please, to approve this report. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. The next agenda item is the revocation of a number of supplementary planning guidance and supplementary planning documents. And again, that's the report of Councillor Collins.
Thank you, Leader. Now, as I often do, I really like this report. I know that I'm the one that's going to be presenting it, but the Planning Policy Management team have been doing a huge amount of work with regard to the, well, let's read them out in full rather than the abbreviations for the benefit of people who might be watching. So, supplementary planning guidance notes, SPGs, and supplementary planning documents, SPDs, and urban design concept statement informal guidance notes. I know that's like, blimey, it's a lot of words, but hopefully we know what we're doing when we say those words. Now, those things, well, they build up over a period of time. And I think one of the reasons we've taken this opportunity is because we're here at Cheltenham Borough Council, we're in the process of launching a new website. And we want to make sure that things that are on that website, published on that website, are actually valid and current. So it was felt to be an opportune time to purge these documents, as many are now obsolete, superseded, simply out of date, or just irrelevant. In layman's terms, I thought we'd have a bit of a tidy up, okay? So the report helpfully not only lists all the documents that are being revoked, but it also provides a list of the SPDs that are to be retained, and they will be available and published on our website when it's launched. The report has just one recommendation, and namely recommending that Cabinet agrees to formally revoke and withdraw the publication of the list of SPGs, SPDs, and urban design concept statements, informal guidance notes, set out in Table 1 and at paragraph 3.5 of this report. I really do hope that Cabinet colleagues will join me in agreeing that this is a very sensible request. And as I did in my previous report, I would like to thank the officers who were involved in preparing this one too. So thank you to John Spurling and to Dan O'Neill, and a Merry Christmas to them too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Collins. Is there any member that wants to make a comment or ask a question? Councillor Jeffreys.
Thank you, Leader. I think my colleagues probably are aware of my views on planning policy. I won't leave that for another conversation, but I just want to support my colleague in actually the tidying up, I think, is the layman's language he used. I think given that we have up-to-date policies where we can, I think in planning terms it's quite essential. It does, these policies do shape our town. So fully support this tidying up exercise, although, like I said, we'll leave my comments on my view of planning policy aside. Thank you.
Councillor Pinniger.
I think it's a constant bugbear for me that we've got lots of documents that are not up to date. And it's not just this authority, it's central government as well. It's really, really common. There's lots and lots of documentation, never gets withdrawn. So I really welcome this, especially now we're entering an age of Gen AI, where people are going to use that to ask questions instead of actually looking at the documents. It's very important not to be giving them duff information. So it's a great initiative. The other thing was that I've been bamboozled by this before. I've tried to find my local poets conservation area SPD, and I've always found a draft version every time I've looked. But it looks like there is a live version, and it's linked here in your report. So thank you for that.
Councillor Baker.
Yeah, as a former member of the Planning Committee, these guidance notes and documents I think are really helpful in the planning process. And actually, it's quite interesting looking back at the ones we're taking off, talking about things like the fire station in Keynsham Road, the police station, all these things. All this work was done preparing this guidance and stuff. The buildings were subsequently then built. I just wonder why some of these don't just automatically drop off the system once the scheme has been finished, rather than hanging around, and that's perhaps something for the future. But I don't know whether we are different to other planning authorities here. I think we're really proactive on producing these notes and these guidance notes, particularly, for example, the climate one we've recently done. And whilst they are only guidance, they are making a real difference. So I think our planning team ought to be congratulated on producing these documents. We are ahead of the game with a lot of these. So happy Christmas to them too, Mike.
Any other member? Councillor Collins.
Yeah, thank you, colleagues. I mean, it's always nice to get a bit of feedback when you present a report, even if it's perhaps not as positive as you want it to be. But I think I can say that all of those comments were positive. And Councillor Baker's comment about, there doesn't appear to be a process that deletes or gets rid of policies or notes once that event is happened. I don't know if that's something that we could look at as a council, not just in planning policy guidance, but across the council. But I would say I'm a massive advocate of benchmarking, and all the senior officers, the first thing they do is they have a look at authorities that are like us or authorities that are in another part of the country, and that's our starting point. So we look at the best practice and then we try to build on that. And I think that's why we at Cheltenham Borough Council are so successful in some of the things that we do.
Thank you, Councillor Collins. So can I see a show of hands in support of this, please? Thank you very much. That's unanimous. So the next report of the evening is the rent setting repairs, empty homes, voids, otherwise known as, and recharge policies. And that's the report of Councillor Clucas.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, these reports are updates on previous work that have been done, and they have been through the Housing Committee, and also tenants have had an opportunity to comment on them and to suggest change, and they have been incorporated into these reports. They give a position statement as of now, except in one instance, which is voids, which is about a month out of kilter because those figures come in every month, and therefore the voids figures are a little different. And I may ask if you would like to give us an update on that. Would that be okay?
Yes, happy to do so. So as Councillor Clucas advised, we have created a voids policy that's been through Housing Committee. We used to have an internal voids procedure, but we wanted to have an actual policy so that we could be transparent with tenants. So it sets out our future aspirations for the service, which we're looking at starting in the new year. I think all of you members will probably be aware we have our challenges with a substantive build-up of empty properties. I've been assisting in the service area since June. It is a moving feast. So as at Housing Committee, we had 120 standard housing revenue account relet voids. You would normally expect to see between 30 and 40 voids a month. So we're probably at 3 times the amount that we would want to be at. There has been a lot of build-up. We've inherited this year alone, as at the end of November, we had 179 terminations of tenancy, so that's where customers have moved on. So we're not dealing with a set amount. Every month we're getting more properties in and we're letting properties. So we've approached dealing with the situation by splitting our voids, which is quite common practice, into what we call major voids. Those voids require kitchens, bathrooms, plastering, heating systems, and then we've also got a category for our minor voids. I'll call them minor. They're quite often anything but minor. There's still a lot of work needs to be done. So our approach has been to, we have had procurement challenges in the past. So we've worked with procurement, and we've got 3 contractors in place to deal with our major voids, so that our in-house team could focus on turning around minor voids. Dealing with the contractors has been interesting. I'm certainly glad we had 3. 2 of them hadn't been particularly well performing, but we are working very well with 1 contractor. So as at the end of November, of the 120 voids, 77 of those voids were major. We had 65 of those with contractors. So those are due back towards the end of January, which is good news. But as I said, each week, if we get another major void back, we're passing it on to a contractor so that it's not sat there. Other things in the moving feast, as I said, we had 179 additional properties this year. 28 of those were transfers from existing council tenants moving to another council property if they needed a larger home. So it's great we've been able to provide a new home. That then creates another void from an existing customer. So the numbers are always changing. So things have been going well. Working with the 1 contractor, they freed up additional resource. So we've really been able to increase the volume of major voids that we've got with them. That does create us with a slight challenge in terms of lettings, because we can only let so many properties each month. You've obviously got to advertise the properties on the Home Seeker, do your shortlisting, do your viewings, do verification checks, fraud checks. So that in itself is a complicated process as well. The slight challenge we've got is there is a new build development in Regency Village where we've got approximately 70 new build properties. We've had 30 already. Those are 30 additional properties that we've got to let and advertise and do verification and checks. So we're currently looking at our resource in our letting area, because we don't want to be in a situation where we have all these voids back and then it's taken us longer than we would like on the letting side of it. So I'm personally confident that the numbers are going to come down early next year, but there has been a lot of blood, sweat and tears by colleagues dealing with this backlog. So that was the position as at those figures were as at the end of November. But happy to take any further questions or comments.
Flo, is that your introduction done to the report, or?
Unless anybody has any questions to ask.
No, I'll move on to that. I just wondered whether you'd actually finished presenting.
I'm happy with that. We work very closely together as officers and myself, and we do that because it's the best way to get the results that we all want. And that is to provide decent homes for our tenants and for them to feel that they have a voice too, which is really important. So from that perspective, tackling voids in the way that we have, reorganising how some of the work is done, making sure that we have contractors who are up to the job, all of that is actually a really big thing to have to do. And so my thanks to the officers for the work they're doing in relation to that. I think that, Leader, is all I wish to say at this current moment.
Any member? Councillor Jeffries, Councillor Pinniger, Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, obviously getting all of these policies shipshape and updated and in place now that we're managing the properties back in Borough Council is absolutely vital. But I didn't want to go particularly into the policies. I just wanted to say, Matt, thanks for that update. It was really interesting to hear. I'm glad you've identified early the potential resource issue in terms of, you know, us actually getting on top of the voids, but also the pipeline of new properties that are coming on stream, because, you know, we know the housing pressures And as you know, we're particularly keen in this council to provide as many homes as we can. So hopefully that pressure won't come to bear and you'll be able to tackle that. But I'm sure you'll let whoever know who needs to know that if it is a problem, it's good that in the new year that we'll see some more of these properties rolling out to families and people that desperately need them. So just want to put on my record, I think there's a theme going to go along here, Leader. My records to all the teams across colleagues across the council in the housing area. Merry Christmas.
Councillor Pinniger.
Yes, thanks, Matt, for the update. It's really, really good to hear. I'm so pleased. Just a thought that I think we get rather a high turnover in St Mark's because they're one-bedroom flats. People sort their lives out and they move on. So we have quite a few flats changing hands over time. But if there's anything we could do to enable people to stay in the area, then we've just recently had the indices of multiple deprivation report through, which shows that we're pretty much where we were. And I know we've put in so much effort and there's some really good initiatives that have gone on there. But I think people, you know, they move on, don't they? They don't necessarily stay there. But every time somebody moves on, you've got another void. So if we can, you know, keep them there, that would be really useful. The comment I wanted to make to Flo and to the team is that I was really pleased to see the very clearly written tenant versions of all these policies that are easy to you know, make sense of. And actually, I preferred reading those to the lengthy versions. So thank you for that. I think that's really useful for the tenants to be able to see their responsibilities very, very clearly now. So thank you.
If I can,
Councillor Baker.
I think within Gloucestershire, we have one of the largest numbers of social housing across the county, a significant number. And I always had quite a high regard to Cheltenham Borough Homes and the job they did. But actually bringing Cheltenham Borough Homes and bringing that social housing back under the umbrella of Cheltenham Borough Council has been one of the best decisions we've ever made. Aside from the other reasons we did it, and there were other reasons, the biggest reason is that we've had a chance to look at the whole thing, refresh it, rewrite it, work with tenants, and I think it's brilliant the involvement we've got with our customers, essentially. And hearing your update then, Matt, as well, did answer a lot of questions that I have, because for me, voids is the biggest single issue we have. You know, it means whilst those properties are empty, we're not getting rent, the properties are getting more dilapidated, people on the housing list aren't getting properties, and so on. So the priority of turning around those voids quicker is obviously one that you are addressing. But we all know how difficult it is to get contractors to do work. It's you know, Cheltenham's no different to any other part. It's a huge problem. And when you have the numbers of voids that you have, it's a huge challenge for you. So I wish you every success in that. And it's great that you've got one contractor on board, at least one, who you trust and the quality of work is appropriate. And obviously, I'm assuming that after each void is completed, we are then going in and just reviewing the properties, making sure it's all been done in accordance. You mentioned, I think, a figure of 170 becoming available this month, of which 50 were people moving from one council tenant to another property. Does that mean there's 120 people have moved out of council accommodation this month into non or private sector accommodation? Because that is quite an interesting figure to me, and is really going to help us reduce our waiting list, if I've understood that correctly.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, the figure was for the year to date. So you have an average terminations of probably about 24 a month. That's either people moving, passing on, things like that, or moving to other council properties. So we do keep track of our termination reasons just to see if there's any trends, but it isn't. It's just a kind of cycle of life and people moving on and moving to other properties. So there's nothing unusual about that and nothing that we can kind of try and prevent. Quite often it is a family who's outgrown a home and needs a bigger accommodation effectively. But we have to adjust every single week, so we meet a couple of times a week. I've been out looking at voids every week, keep an eye on things. We diarise things on a Friday. What you said, Councillor Jeffries, is very important as well, because we're very pleased that we work closely with Housing Options, because we might plan a diary for the next week, but if we get a emergency case where someone's homeless and we can bring something else forward, we work closely with those kind of teams as well.
Yeah, I think it's worth saying in relation to, to that when we have homeless people on our streets, we can actually offer them accommodation. Lots of other councils are not in a position to do that, but we are. And I think that is really good. And also, our tenants are at the heart, as I said, of what we do. And because of that, and because of the feedback we get from them, it makes an enormous difference to how we act. And that is one of the issues in relation to our contractors. If our tenants are telling us, you know what, they did this, you know what, that, you know what, that, then we will take that on board and we will investigate what's gone on. And if things are not being done properly, then we will have words, shall I say, with the contractors. And so those that we have now are doing a good job. That's what I would say to you. And I think that's really worth mentioning here, because it's vital that we get these properties back into use by people rather than sitting empty. I'm happy to take any more questions, but can I, through you, Leader, wish all our staff a very happy Christmas, and thank you for the work that you've been doing.
Thank you, Councillor Clucas. Could I see a show of hands to approve this, please? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. So our next agenda item is the half-yearly Treasury Management Board report. Councillor Jeffries.
Thank you, Nina. Deja vu for colleagues. I'm sure we discussed this yesterday at full council, but you may remember I did say it was regulations require that we have to report this and review and scrutinise our treasury management activity each year. This is the mid-term report, and it sets out the first 6 months of the financial year. You'll also note, I think I'll repeat what I did say at council in terms of the general fund borrowing costs and investment returns are on target as forecast in the budget for 25-26, which I think is a testament to the hard work of the team. Equally, unlike other councils across the country, we have been insulated to some degree in relation to some of the volatility in relation to borrowings, because we have a decent sizable amount of our borrowings on fixed rates. And at the moment, the fixed rate lending is close to 6%, so fixed rate's gone up, whereas short-term borrowing's coming down. So anyway, I'm happy to take any questions, Leader, but as we did discuss this yesterday, I'm sure colleagues will be well aware of the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jeffries. Is there any member that wants to, because we all had a bite of the cherry yesterday at full council, so no comments on that. But, Councillor Pinniger.
Just to sort of reiterate in public what I said to you earlier, really is it is very dry. You admitted it's a very, very dry report. The reason that I brought this up in Cabinet and not in Council is because next time this report comes forward, it really pleased me if there was a bit more explanation and narrative around all of the different descriptions of market volatility at the start, just to give context to people who are not experts in treasury management. And I know that they can ask AI like I did, but it would really help, I think. Thank you.
Thank you for that observation, Councillor Pinniger. Is there any other observations or comments that people want to make? No. Councillor Jeffries, do you want to come back?
Thank you, Leader. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because under our budgetary process, we generally have very descriptive narratives, which are quite useful to people, especially on our budgets. Whereas, ironically, the treasury management activity is a small part of the overarching budget. But happy to obviously have that conversation with the team and try and provide some more narrative if not more narrative, more reader-friendly way of describing things. But yeah, taking on board your comments, Councillor Bingham, thank you.
So I do need to see a vote on this. So can I see a show of hands, please? Councillor Clucas? It's okay. Is that unanimous, Councillor Collins? Yeah, everybody, yeah. Sorry, I missed everybody. I didn't scan the room quickly enough, sorry. So that takes us on to the agenda item 19, not 19, but quarterly budget monitoring report. And that's the report of Councillor Collins. You will see it is in modern.gov, but it came as late, which is often the way with our financial. Sorry? Yeah, no, I noticed. So but I was just pointing.
You did say me.
Did I?
Yeah, I'm happy to do it.
Oh, no. No, definitely not. Thank you, Councillor Collins. Sorry, so yeah, it came late, but it is on modern.gov as a separate file within that. So it's the report of actually Councillor Jeffries.
Thank you. Yeah, apologies, colleagues, for the late reporting of this. And thank you, Councillor Collins, for the offer of taking the report. But my knowledge of planning policy is probably less than yours is on finance, so maybe we'll stick where we are. Colleagues, I'm pleased to bring forward the Quarter 2 Budget Monitoring Report, which shows the council finances are looking at how they're looking at the end of November. The report gives, I think, a clear picture of where we're on track and where we're starting to see some pressures. At this stage, we're forecasting an overspend of 564,000 by the end of the year. This is largely due to lower income than expected in a few areas. You can read that in the report. And there are some positives as well in terms of where there's some positives in the report as well. Overall, it does mean we need to keep a close eye on the spending over the coming months. The report also highlights that if this position doesn't improve, we need to draw on reserves to balance the budget, which would take our general balance below the level we would normally want to hold. Some of the savings agreed for this year also are providing hard to deliver, and they're actually actively being reviewed. It's fair to say that there remains a level of volatility and uncertainty in areas of the national economy, even after recent budget announcements from central government. And equally, the pending local government reform juggernaut, I call it now, which no one asked for, is, in my view, sadly having a negative effect on our resources and our capacity. The leader mentioned earlier on that the government aren't providing any funding for this at all. And that saddens me because it does have an impact on us as organisationally. Sadly, it's unavoidable and an unforeseen issue. I'd like to put on record my thanks to the finance team as ever. They work extremely hard and diligently all year round, and to LT and my senior officers. Merry Christmas to all of them. I'm happy to take any questions, Leader. Thank you.
Has any member got any questions on the budget monitoring? Councillor Pinniger.
Just to say thank you for the report. It's disappointing that there will be this overspend, and that we'll be using, I hope I'm using the right language here, but we'll be using reserves by the end of the year, which means we fall below the recommended level. But it's very open. It tells you exactly what's gone on and what are reserves for, if not to be spent when things don't go the way the financial strategy wishes them to go. That's why they're there. So, you know, it's not really an embarrassment. It's perfectly normal. And because of our, is it jurisprudence? We're in a good position despite headwinds. Thank you.
Any other member? Councillor Jeffries.
Thank you, Councillor Pinniger. Thank you for your comments. And just to give members the reassurance, whilst this is the Q2 position of the overspend, we're aiming not to be at that position at the year end. And we'll obviously be a lot of work going on in the background with the teams, whether that be savings, income, making adjustments as we move forward. But you're right, Councillor Pinniger, that's what reserves are there for. Let's just hope that we don't have to use them, because there is not optimum level of reserves. I think, in comment what the exact figure was from the Section 151 officer report at the budget setting. But yeah, it's midway point of the year. Budgets in the last few years have been challenging, but it's by no means something we're sitting around not doing anything about. Thank you, Leader.
I think the important thing is to remember is that this is not the year-end report. It's not where we're at. And actually, it stresses the importance of actually doing those budget monitoring reports so that we've got a constant handle on where we are at any given moment in time. Can I see a show of hands, please? Thank you, that's unanimous. So we have one final item actually that's been published on the agenda, but there is, as members will see, there is no report for that, and that was following a discussion that I will now hand over to Councillor Jeffries to talk you through.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, colleagues will be aware that we were going to be publishing our interim budget proposals for the General Fund and the HRA for consultation. And under normal circumstances, we'd have a discussion about that and they'd go out for consultation. And I suppose it's a double-edged sword, really, because we've had single-year settlements for a number of years now, which have been a bit of a headache to make long-term financial plans with. And here we have the incoming government that are going to give us a multi-year settlement, which is to be welcomed. Unfortunately, the side effect of that positive of a multi-year settlement comes with uncertainty. So, yeah, where we get our information from and the modelling that these companies provide us has unfortunately been quite sizable in their assessments of where our settlement will be. And this is where we all, councils all take their information from. So it's tricky because we'd like to give our residents decent information, up-to-date information and relevant information in relation to our budgets. But as those models show, the figures could be wildly different. I think over a couple of £1 million different in terms of our budget alone. So rather than go out with some set of figures that we're going to have to completely rejig and redo after a consultation, we took the decision and the lead decisions, and we're hopefully, colleagues are okay with this, that we'll actually wait until after the government announces their figures. We'll work through those. We'll have hopefully the best position and the most up-to-date information to go out to consultation. I know it does mean we'll have to have another cabinet meeting on the topic, but I think it's the right thing to do. We want to be as open and transparent with our residents as possible. So, yes, apologies that we're doing this in this way round, but unavoidable delayed, as they say. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Jeffries. I think it's really important that actually, because what's the point in a consultation on a budget that actually could range anywhere from £1 million to £2 million, and people take the time and effort to go through that and feedback comments, and actually, basically what we can be accused of is, well, you didn't listen to us, because actually what happens then is that we get the actual settlement. So I think it's absolutely right that we did postpone it to that I just postponed it to the 23rd of the month. I know that means you've all got to come in again, but I think it's the fairest thing to do. And I think, it's again, year on year, we wait with bated breath for the settlement. And this year we were promised it, because we normally actually keep 2 meetings a year in December, just in case the government don't give us the papers when they said they would. This year they said that we would get the settlement by the 30th of November. And it's now postponed to the 17th of November. And obviously, November, yes, December. I'm wishing Christmas either gone or yet to come. Yes. So we get the decision tomorrow, is my understanding. And then we need a few days to sort of work out what that impact is on our budget. So the papers will come out to you very late, because obviously they come in tomorrow, they've got to be worked on in a couple of days, and then got out probably on Monday before our cabinet meeting on Tuesday at 12 o'clock. So that was the decision taken. That now leads us on to the briefing session for members. So I'll start, Councillor Pinniger.
Thank you, Leader. I don't have a lot to say today because yesterday was my debut report on the carbon accounting for the council and housing services. And that was well received, I think, and we'll use that to move forward and improve our, approach net zero by 2030, as we should, as we pledged in 2019. But I can tell you that November's been a month of progress on our climate plan, from hosting the Inspiring Schools Climate Conference in the Council Chamber, where 61 young people debated global and local climate action, to awarding over £35,000 in Cheltenham Zero grants to local businesses, driving low carbon innovation, which all helps build the momentum in Cheltenham. Our flood resilience work is advancing with an updated response plan now in place and community flood wardens joining the network. Housing retrofit projects are moving forward too, with 87 properties completed under the Social Housing Decarbonisation Fund Wave 2.1, and plans for low carbon heating well underway. I think that's all I want to say. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Penniger. Councillor Baker.
Not much from me, Leader. I often talk about friends groups, and you're probably all bored of me talking about friends groups, but they're massively important. And we had a new friends group have their first event last Friday in Newcourt Green in Cheltenham Park. A great event. So that's really positive news. And we had the Roma's new group, which I think I talked about before. So all really good stuff, engaging with our communities and making a difference and saving the council money at the same time. So win-win-win. We've got a meeting tomorrow, bereavement services, looking at things like direct cremations, yeah, and green burials. Obviously, we're under a lot of pressure from the private sector on direct cremations. So we're looking to see how we can bring down some of the sort of deficit we currently have on revenue to offer a new service, but that'll take some time to work through, but we're on the case there. The street cleaning is cracking on. We've obviously got a lot of leaves and a lot of trees in Cheltenham. I think most of the roads have been done, but we've just sent out a list of the roads to be properly cleaned with cars removed and all that sort of thing. So that's going to be happening before the end of the year. And then the streets that haven't been included in that list will be done in January, February. It takes a long time. There's a lot of coordination required with the county council, getting the signs put out, to get the cars removed, to do the drainage works as well as the street sweeping. And in the meantime, some of the streets are messy, are mulchy, and it's not great. But we are onto it. That's it, I think, from me. Nida?
Thank you, Councillor Baker. Councillor Jeffries.
Thank you, Leader. Colleagues, you will remember yesterday we paid tribute to Paul Jones.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Leader. Colleagues will remember at yesterday's council meeting we paid tribute to Paul Jones, who sadly passed away recently, and there was a great number of tributes. One of the other things on the agenda yesterday, I won't repeat the great number of tributes. I'm liable to get emotional again, and that's not what we need right now. But one of the things on the agenda items later in the meeting was the appointment of the Section 151 officer, which we have to have. It's a legal requirement. I just want to put on record my thanks for Gareth, our Chief Executive, and yourself, Leader. But thank you. And thank you for everybody's input into providing the support to the finance team. The finance team are very, very busy. They're all working, beavering away. But unfortunately, that legal requirement needs to be put in place. Yeah, it's equally every meeting I have when Paul's not here, it's hard. But we have to do what's right for Cheltenham. He'd expect it for us. Thank you, Leader.
Councillor Clucas.
Thank you, Leader. The first thing I'd like to say is how wonderful it was to be at Riding for the Disabled the other day, when we were able to give some of the selection boxes that have been collected by our Citizen of Honour, David Bath, to some of our children. He has done one tremendous job this year just under 900 selection boxes. Quite amazing to be able to raise that number. And I have to say, and forgive me for saying this, but our housing officers have done a terrific job in raising cash for that and in providing selection boxes, as indeed have our other officers, because they want to help. And I just think that's wonderful. So that was a real treat. In the last couple of weeks, of course, we've had Saracens and the Hub starting work, and indeed piling finished today, which I'm really pleased about. We've also had some new staff joining the council, and I've managed to meet both of them, and they are, yeah, rock on, kids. They're good. I'm looking forward to to working with them and to meeting others who are going to come in and join us. I was in Malta this last week on behalf of the Local Government Association, and it's great to be able to point to the stuff that Cheltenham is doing because other places aren't. The idea that we are a commercial council, hello, what? What does that mean? The idea that we bring our housing back in-house to make it better, and better it is. Hang on, how did you do that? The idea that we can work with all our communities, wherever those communities are based or come from, they're here and they are Cheltonians, and we work with them. And so being able to take that and work with others across Europe is quite amazing, and I feel very privileged to be able to do that. Next year, our meeting will not be in Malta. We have been invited to attend our formal meeting in June at Father Christmas's home. Not any Father Christmas, but the real Father Christmas at his official residence. So if any of you have letters that you'd like me to take for Father Christmas, then please just let me know. I can't wait, actually. It's in the Arctic Circle, so it'll be very, very interesting being there. In addition to that, I've been going round various locations in Cheltenham, talking to tenants and seeing flats and houses that we have. Barlow Road, for example, where new pipes are now being fitted to those properties. And tomorrow I'm going to Wallace House, to a sheltered housing accommodation, and we're going to have a chat to the tenants and a cup of tea and maybe a mince pie, yes, which will be delicious. So we're doing that tomorrow. And in addition to that, there are a number of other policies that are going to come forward. For example, domestic abuse policy, work to prepare for the regulator. That is also going to come forward. And one of the other areas that I've been involved in recently is complaints, because I am designated as the person responsible for complaints for housing. So we've had one meeting in Leeds, and there will be another meeting happening shortly. And I will be meeting the regulator online, the Ombudsman online in January, on the 19th of January. So all of that is actually pertinent to providing the best possible homes for our residents. And I just think it's a tremendous thing to be able to do. So thank you, Leader. Happy to take any questions.
I'm going to put some clarification in for just in terms of your visit to the Arctic and to Father Christmas, is that very clearly not Cheltenham Borough Council you're going on. You are going as a local government association representation. What I would hate to see is a headline in the paper that says Cheltenham Borough Council pays for cabinet member to go to see Father Christmas. So in June. So I just thought I'd put some clarity in there. Councillor Tailford.
Thank you, Leader. It's busy as always, so I'll try and just rattle some of these off. Had a really positive meeting with Councillor Joe Harris from the County Council and members of the Civic Society to share with them some information on our developing plans for the town centre public realm, because obviously we're working hard to try and put something together that delivers something long-term that we can all be proud of for our town centre. Myself and Officer Richard Gibson met with Smiths Rugby and the RFU to see what funding opportunities there are to help that club continue to grow. We also met with Leckhampton Rovers and the Football Foundation and with Councillor Baker for a regular check-in and discussion on areas of the town we can develop football, what pitches we can improve, and all sorts there. continuing on sport, today I met with Harriers Athletics and the BBC to reaffirm our position as a council and our plan to resurface the Prince of Wales Athletics track to get it back to that track mark accredited consistency for higher level events. Obviously, at the moment, it's completely open, safe to use. It's just 8 or 9 events a year it can't be used for specifically. But that is a £600,000 project. So not something we can deliver immediately with all the financial pressures around us, but I'm hopeful that the SIL infrastructure list that we had earlier on might be a mechanism for us to deliver that using regional funding, because it's a regionally important site. It's not just Cheltenham that uses it, and it shouldn't just be Cheltenham that pays to resurface it. I also, outside of that, speaking of regional things, I attended the Cotswold Plus LVEP meeting, Local Visitor Economy Partnership, which we meet regularly to collaborate on between councils in the county and beyond into Oxfordshire on tourism and visitor economy things. So that's always really positive. And into culture, I had a meeting with Tony from Lansdowne Art Studios, and I got a nice tour of the building and the site there to get a better understanding of what they do and to see some of the amazing art by the artists in residence there. And I think that was a really important thing to do with my culture hat on. We also met with my team from Marketing Cheltenham, with Helen. We met with the English Symphony Orchestra to offer our support where we can to kind of help grow classical music in Cheltenham, because often we're doing stuff for the arts and we're doing stuff for this, but music might not be the one that always gets the focus. So how can we help them? So that was a really positive thing. They've got various residences at the town hall across the next year, so it's important that people use it and enjoy it if they want to. But during the last month, the most enjoyable thing was opening the Cheltenham ice rink with Deputy Mayor Martin Horwood. I'm glad to say that neither of us fell flat on our face on the ice, and I have heard that has happened before, so it was good that we didn't. I just want to say thanks to our Marketing Cheltenham team for their work in delivering it again this year. And other than Christmas Day, they are open every day until the 4th of January. So with loads of different types of sessions, including special SEN sessions, fun character events, and student nights and all sorts. So if you can, make the most of it and get your skates on, because it's a great thing to have. And then go to restaurants and use all our lovely hospitality businesses. But obviously there's plenty on for residents and visitors throughout the rest of December and into the new year, including pantos at both the Everyman and the Playhouse, but also some very recent positive news that the Pitfall Pump Room pop-up, which is a fun word to say, Pitfall Pump Room pop-up cafe, will be back open from the 22nd of December until New Year's Eve. Which should hopefully provide like a nice place for people to go during their Christmas holidays with their kids, walk the dog, and pop into the cafe at the Pump Room and enjoy that lovely public asset that we have, particularly as they're going to have live music on all of those days that they're open, which is a really nice thing to do during Christmas. So my final thing, because everyone else jumped on that earlier, is to say Merry Christmas to all the officers in my team. I think that's, and across the council, to be honest, as well as all the organisations that touch upon my portfolio, whether cultural or sport and wellbeing or football clubs, whichever they are, and everyone in the Cheltenham Trust as well. Thank you.
Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Leader. So last time we were here, we were talking about my very exciting midlife trip to 320 Swindon Road. So I thought I'd give you an update on how things are going, because this is the site where we are turning a disused car park into affordable homes that we are so desperate for in Cheltenham. And it's so hard in Cheltenham to find somewhere to put these things. So I thought I'd give you an update. So works on site at the moment are focused on 2 essentials of life, foundations and drainage. It doesn't sound very exciting, but they are the ground level on which we're going to build everything else with these affordable homes. The drainage works are happening at great speed, and we're looking to do some work to level the site out a little bit so that these very expensive, very large vehicles can be brought on to actually build the homes in the new year. The drainage work on Malvern Street, which is an off-site drainage connection position, will be completed before Christmas, so nobody's going to be having any trouble getting any relatives round to their homes. Work on site is going to break for the 19th of December, which I think was the right choice for us, as much as we're very keen to get these houses built. We don't want anyone having any construction noise cutting through the Christmas spirit. I was also really delighted earlier in the meeting to hear the officers comment about just how many affordable homes we're handing over at Regent's Village. So there is nothing better in the run-up to Christmas than to be able to hand over just that many beautiful, low cost to live in, affordable homes so fast that we can't advertise them and offer them quick enough. There's going to be so many families in 2026 who are going to have beautiful new homes to look forward to, and that really is a highlight of this job. I'd like to thank my team in Major Developments and thank our partners and friends, nameable and unnameable, for all their hard work and real collaborative spirit over the past year. We've made incredible moves, and I hope in 2026 I can tell you all about them. But thank you very much. Have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Councillor Atherton.
Thank you, Leader. Just a number of updates from me tonight. First of all, I'd like to kick off with some of the outcomes with regards to our Safer Streets summer campaign, and to say a huge thank you to the incredible partnership work between our council officers and Gloucestershire Constabulary and the police officers. It was highlighted what a strong and effective partnership that is at the last police and crime panel. So huge thanks to that team on both sides, because their joint efforts have seen a reduction in 5% of crime reported in the town centre across a number of identified hotspots. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to all the young people I've had the privilege of meeting over the past month. And thanks to Geraldine, one of our No Child Left Behind officers, who went out with me to visit young people at the various youth groups, whether that was in, we went to Wadden, Springbank, Hatherley, St Peters, and we're able to get so much insight from young people as to what they want to see with our proposed new Cheltenham Youth Pass, because we know that young people want a lot more affordable and accessible and more choice of activities to do in the town centre. So this is really helping us make sure that we have those conversations with activity providers and hospitality providers in Cheltenham to try to get those good deals for young people. And also, we've got some really exciting developments in the pipeline, and hopefully I'll be able to share a little bit more information about this in the new year. We found a potential venue in the town centre that will become our youth cafe venue for the pilot, which is responding to exactly what young people wanted: a safe, accessible, very central town centre location that young people in Cheltenham can call their own, which is really, really super exciting. I've also got quite an important meeting coming up this week, which is with our accessibility forum, and we're going to be going on a night walk, and I'm going to be wearing simul glasses, and I'm a little bit sort of terrified in terms of, you know, how difficult that is going to be for me walking around the town. So I know that they're going to give us some great support so we can really understand what it's like navigating through Cheltenham Town Centre, and try to help myself as a cabinet lead and officers, so that we can really support as best way that we can to ensure that our town is accessible as possible. I'd also like to shout out with regards to our licensing team and their great efforts in putting together this year's Purple Flag survey. It's really, really important that we continue to collect feedback from residents as to their experiences of what it's like in Cheltenham Town Centre. We have been awarded the accreditation for 10 consecutive years, but we're only as good as our previous year. So we have to ensure that we keep collecting resident feedback and visitor feedback to ensure that our town continues to be safe and as lively as it currently is. And that survey closes on the 9th of January 2026. And also to shout out also from, I know you've just mentioned it, Councillor Clucas, with regards to our community hero, Dave Bath. He really is absolutely fantastic. And the impact that has had on young people and children throughout all of Cheltenham, 880 boxes distributed, selection boxes, and to thank all of those partners and individuals and the Borough Council even in terms of making contributions so that Dave has been able to hand out to these boxes to so many groups and across Cheltenham. So that really has had a huge impact. So huge thank you. And I would also like to say a huge thank you to all of our officers and everyone that I work with, and to thank you for their support, and a Merry Christmas to you all. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Atherstone. Last, but of course by no means least, there's me.
Thank you, Leader. I wasn't going to say anything, but I am now. Anyway, listening to everyone, I'm starting to think that planning and building control isn't quite as sexy as some of your portfolios, because I don't get to visit new building sites that are going to be going up. I don't get to meet residents groups that are making a contribution to their communities. I don't get to meet volunteer groups, although we have got a very good volunteer group in Ben Hall. It does an awful lot of work on Ben Hall open space, and I certainly don't get an offer to go and meet Father Christmas. But what I would say, in all seriousness, what I would say is I do work very closely with the team in both planning and building control. And of course, as everyone else has, I'd like to wish everyone in those teams. And I do get quite a lot of contact with the comms team. They're often sort of emailing me, you know, Councillor Collins, can you sign off this communication that we've got to put out by 5 o'clock this evening or whatever. And that can be quite surprising and quite interesting, because I perhaps don't see it quite as soon as I should. But I would like to wish them a happy Christmas as well. So Merry Christmas to all of the officers at Cheltenham Borough Council and to our partners beyond. Thank you.
Well, anybody'd think this was the last cabinet meeting of the year, because hello guys, you're back here on the 23rd. But I don't have a whole lot to update on, but one thing I would like to do, because it's not often I get to do what I would necessarily call the really just total pleasure, is that I was lucky enough to have an invitation to go to the press night to the Playhouse pantomime. And I took my 9-year-old grandson, and it was absolutely magnificent. I was so impressed at the professionalism of that, the whole team, and great to see so many young people taking part on the stage. And of course, you know, you had the usual banter of the, oh yes you did, oh no you didn't, but also there was some really good humour in there. And my grandson said to me, because he went with his cub group to the Everyman to see the pantomime there, and it was completely unprompted. And I'm going to make no apology for the fact that he's a 9-year-old boy that said, actually, do you know what? The Playhouse was better than the Everyman. No. And I just thought, well, out of the mouths of babes. And he's seen both, and he's made his own judgment. So, on that note, of course, the Playhouse is an excellent one as well, and each to their own. But it's a very different model, and it's so important for our young people, and it's affordable as well. So, and I'm not saying the Everyman's not, but it's slightly more affordable for people to be able to go to the Playhouse than the Everyman. Other than that, I think I'm still ploughing my way through lots of local government reorganisation and planning reforms that have just hit my inbox today, of yet another kind. So other than that, that takes us on to the member decisions, of which there were quite a few, most of which seems to be Councillor Baker spending money. So, Councillor Baker, you've got a number. Do you want to run through yours? And then, actually, no, I'll tell you what, I'll pick up Councillor Jeffries' decision. Councillor Jeffries first.
Thank you, Leader. If you can beg my indulgence a second, something popped into my brain, which was related to Councillor Telford's briefing session, and this is related to the ice rink. And just to make, in case members weren't aware, There are 100 children tonight going as part of the No Child Left Behind project to the ice rink. I just thought, I know you're all briefed about these sorts of things, but I wasn't sure if you're aware of that. So again, these opportunities that we provide as a council, I think are sorely needed. So I just want to put on my thanks to all the people that are involved with that. Sorry, Leader, for begging my indulgence there. Yes, I took a decision to enter into contract and set the tender for Live Green. This is in relation to delivering carbon reduction works in line with the specifications. Colleagues be aware of the Wave 3 funding that we had from central government, £7 million worth. I know my colleague, Councillor Pinnick, has been all over this topic, but I took the decision to enter into that contract. Thank you, Leader.
And the other decision that was taken by somebody other than Councillor Baker was a decision by myself. It's another product of the local government reorganisation process that we're going through, is that we would have been looking at the agreement between ourselves and Publica as a matter of course, because it's that sort of time again to have that review. But given where we are in the process of LGR, I made a decision to actually just extend the services, extend the agreement that we have with Publica between ourselves and them it's the most logical thing to do. I think all of the other all of the other decisions are Councillor Baker. So do you want me to talk you through them, or are you happy to rattle through them yourself?
I mean, Leader, if you can't spend money at Christmas, when can you? No, there are a lot of decisions here, and the pleasing thing about all of them is that they are representing an investment in our town and in our town's future. A lot of them relate to the replacement of machinery, from pressure washers to, where are we? Just going through the list here. Stock sweepers, road sweepers, sorry, forklift trucks and cage tipping vehicles. So as you can imagine, these vehicles are being used day in, day out, year on, year out. And they have an expectancy, a life expectancy of about 7 years. So these items are all being replaced after 7 years of service. They will be sold on, and we will have the new equipment to look after our parks and our gardens and our pavements and our roads, etc., over the next 7 years. So that is an investment in our town, trying to make the town as clean and tidy as possible with the most up-to-date and efficient equipment to produce a good job, and also for our staff to have the best quality of equipment available. The other important decision was to award a contract to Tetra Tech to deliver a feasibility study for a strategic waste site. And this is a really important step in the progress to about the future, both of strategic waste in our county, because this is a decision made between Cheltenham Borough Council, Tewkesbury Borough Council, with involvement from GCC as well. But also within that study, we are looking at the future of Swindon Road and the HRC. So the HRC is still very much at the forefront of conversations between Cheltenham Borough Council and Gloucestershire County Council. And it's unthinkable, really, that Cheltenham will not have its own HRC going forward. And that is what we're aiming for. And hopefully this study will give us a lot of evidence to support that and the way forward in how we manage waste in a growing county. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. So there are no other urgent items that I deem necessary, and therefore at 7:15, that's the conclusion of our council meeting. Thank you all very much for your attendance.